Breaking news right now happening on 13 News at noon. Good evening, everyone. Afternoon, rather, everyone. I'm Karen Campbell. Well, Indianapolis continues to attract some of sports and entertainment's biggest events. The NCAA announcing just minutes ago that Indianapolis will now be the one-stop shop for all men's basketball championships in 2026. Lucas Oil Stadium was already slated to host the Final Four in 2026. And now Indy will also be home to the Division II, Division III, and NIT championships as well. These four events are all expected to take place on the same weekend, making Indy just the second city to host all of the men's championships in the same year. Indy also hosted all of the women's basketball championships in 2016. Our Dominic Miranda will have more on these new developments on 13 News at 4 o'clock. Well, just hours ago, we learned that a family of a Kokomo man found dead at a car wash positively identified him. Kokomo police released photos of tattoos on the man's body, hoping for someone to come forward. Now, they say he was found dead last Friday near North Dixon Road. Police tell 13 News they do not suspect any foul play in the man's death. The cause of death is still pending, and the man's name is expected to be released once the legal next of kin is notified.
We just searched and searched and searched, and we come upon her.
This afternoon, investigators are piecing together clues and a mother is pushing for justice after a gruesome discovery. Virginia Summers reported her 36-year-old daughter, Tara Capps, missing at the end of June. She says she'd heard a rumor about something happening to her, but never got any answers. And then after a week of searching, she found her daughter's remains in a plastic storage tote out in the woods near Keystone and Pleasant Run.
Tara was beautiful, beautiful inside and out. She didn't deserve to be like that. Not only her, nobody does. But Tara, she would have helped anybody.
And Summer says her daughter sometimes lived on the streets. And there are several homeless campsites near the area where her remains were found. And right now her death is being investigated as a homicide. So if you have any information, you should call IMPD or Crime Stoppers. Well, we know Hurricane Beryl is still impacting us here in Indiana. Wednesday, Carroll County Sheriff's Office reported the Oakdale Dam is expected to reach high water levels by midnight due to the effects of Beryl. Now, here is some video from 2015 when that dam actually breached. Right now, the Sheriff's Office is advising residents in the area to take immediate caution and seek higher ground as water levels continue to rise. Our 13 News team is on the way to Carroll County to gather more information, and we will have more on this on 13 News beginning at 4 o'clock. That scene back a few years ago is, well, not a few years ago, 2015, is a little crazy to think about. And I know we have a team going there now, but what are the expectations?
Well, it's minor flooding right now is what's going on, minor lowland flooding, and not a surprise that it's happening there when you look at what's happened over the last couple of days from Beryl. That was the heaviest rain zone, some 3 to locally over 5 inches of rain fell just north of the dam. Of course, this is all going to have to spill southward here. These are the flood warnings that are currently in place. Again, generally some minor flooding, and a lot of the gauges, at least the ones I just looked at, have hit their crests and will gradually start to go down. But you can see these river flood warnings extend into Lafayette and Attica, and some of these river flood warnings may continue for a couple of days. So we'll keep tabs on it. Additional rain today, we do expect it. Not a whole lot happening right now, but with the heating of the day and there's a disturbance approaching us from the west, between now and 4 o'clock, we are going to see an increase in coverage, and you'll see it on Future Track 13. These will be slow movers, locally heavy rain, and an outside chance of a couple of funnels as well here. This will likely be the greatest storm coverage we're going to have until the middle part of next week. Then we're going to turn up the heat. We'll talk more about that ahead and a hotter 7-day forecast.
All right, thanks, Sean. Nearly 2 years later, the families of 3 people killed in the Greenwood Park Mall shooting are now suing, claiming negligence. They say the company that owns the mall and the contracted security company didn't do enough to keep shoppers safe. Our Logan Gay talked with one of the attorneys involved and breaks down the allegations outlined in 2 new lawsuits.
Whether one is present when a mass shooting happens or simply gets the phone call that their loved one has been killed, it causes permanent lifelong trauma and fear and PTSD.
Andrea Simmons is an attorney with Cohen and Malad. She's representing the estates of the 3 victims killed during the shooting and their family members who survived. Her team filed 2 lawsuits on Tuesday on their behalf. They allege wrongful death and gross negligence, claiming Simon Property Group and Allied Universal Security Services did not do enough to keep people at the mall safe.
We believe that on the day of this mass killing, there was inadequate security at Greenwood Park Mall and no response to the food court, no response to other calls for help.
Simmons says the lawsuit is just the beginning.
There's a lot of material we can't get until the suit is filed. Simon and Allied are not going to simply voluntarily turn over their internal documents and footage so that we can see, for example, a roster of people who were working that day and the names of the witnesses. So the lawsuit is the means by which we do a much more thorough investigation.
This is the second lawsuit filed by Cohen and Malad. The first lawsuit was filed on behalf of a family that had 2 daughters at the mall. One of them was hurt. The other, they say, was traumatized witnessing the shooting. With the shooter dead, Simmons says this lawsuit is another way for the families to get justice.
The thing about civil justice is we don't have any way of obviously turning back the clock. We can't bring back the people who were killed, or we can't fix permanent injuries. Our only method of getting civil justice is through monetary compensation.
And that was our Logan Gay reporting. 13 News reached out to Simon Property Group for comment, but we have not yet heard back. Allied Universal Event Services did respond, and a spokesperson says they don't comment on pending litigation. Well, the key word used many times in the lawsuit is foreseeability. It's also been used in similar lawsuits for mass shootings across the country. Victims and survivors argue that businesses should understand the possibility of violence in advance. But courts have consistently ruled that venues cannot be held liable for mass shootings unless there are a specific threat of violence before the shooting. This precedent was first set after a mass shooting in 1984 at a McDonald's. In 2015, a court found Planned Parenthood liable for shooting inside a Colorado center, but the state Supreme Court later overturned that ruling. There have been more of these types of lawsuits filed since 2020 than in all previous years combined. And while no business has been held liable in any of these cases yet, there is a shift still happening. In recent years, businesses are more often settling these lawsuits before they go to trial. For example, MGM paid over $800 million to the survivors and victims' families of the Las Vegas mass shooting, but did not admit liability. Well, happening today, an emergency hearing for a former Colts player and his wife fighting to get out of jail. Daniel and Kristen Muir will appear in a Cass County courtroom again, where their attorneys will request judge set bail for them. The 2 are being held in Logansport without bond after police arrested them both for obstruction of justice in the search for their teenage son. Daniel Muir also faces a charge of domestic battery, accused of abusing his own son. This afternoon, we are working to find out if the 3 missing children from Indianapolis have been reunited with their grandfather. This is video here showing police taking the 3 children into custody after their parents were involved in an hour-long standoff Tuesday night with police in Texas just outside of San Antonio. Now, police say Willie and Jessica Terrell took the kids on July 4th after meeting up with them and their grandfather at a restaurant. Now, we are now working to find out what charges have been filed. This afternoon, we know the names of IMPD officers involved in separate shootings. 8-year veteran Dustin Pervine and 14-year veteran Peter Tomlinson fired their weapons on July 2nd at the scene of a reported shooting near Lyndhurst and Vermont Streets. Police say a man pointed his gun at officers several times before police fired. The man was taken to the hospital in critical condition. And on June 25th, 4-year veteran Edward Lanane shot and killed a man accused of trying to kill his wife and holding another woman at knife point at an apartment complex near Castleton Square Mall. A Lawrence police officer also fired.